All right, good afternoon, everybody. We're here to talk to you today about DiveViz. So this is our team. So we've got Brennan, Parker, Joaquin, Dave, Kuntai, and Maro. We've all been working on this. We also have a MSBA student who's been helping us with some of the data analytics, and then some great advisors, some startup CEOs, as well as some people down at Scripps. And just a little bit more about me. My name is Chris Cheesem. I'm the founder. I grew up diving in Florida, fell in love with it, ended up going to the Naval Academy, got my oceanography degree there, drove ships for the Navy, and did some hard hat diving for the Navy as well. And when I got stationed out here, I thought, I'd go out and dive in La Jolla. So got all my gear together, put it in the car, drove up to La Jolla, got dressed out, got in the water, and could see about this far in front of my face. And I did that one or two times, and I said, the heck with it, that's no fun, it's creepy. So I decided to get into surfing instead. Not a bad alternative, but when I was doing that, I found that surfers had a similar problem where people would drive, hours down to the coast with all their boards, get to the ocean, and it would be flat. And so they solved that problem through forecasting, services like Surfline, and that's what we're doing with DiveViz.
So the main problem that DiveViz addresses is what Chris just spoke about. That visibility is really important whenever it comes to diving. But right now, there's no reliable visibility forecast out. So to see just how important visibility is for divers, we surveyed 39 active divers, and as you can see, over 3/4 of them said that the biggest environmental factor that affects their diving decision is visibility. The solution to this problem is DiveViz. It's the first all-in-one app for dive conditions. Right now, it's using crowdsourced reports from people who go and dive and then report to the website. In the future, as early as January 1st, we're hoping to have an algorithm that will do the forecasts itself.
For the value proposition, we are developing the best underwater visibility forecast algorithm, and we are focusing on the consumer, and we'll be helping them by first saving time. For example, one interview we did, the local diver told us that he has to go to 3 different websites to see how the conditions are, then load the gear, drag to the beach, and many times the conditions weren't even good. On the other hand, we're going to help them save money. First, to shop owners and instructors by not having to reschedule open water sessions every time they go out and the conditions are bad. And also the recreational divers who many times also spend a lot of money by buying new gear, filling their tanks, going to the beach, and then they are not certain of how the conditions are. And finally, we'll help them by providing confidence. At the end of the day, we want that every type of diver may be able to know exactly when and where to go to make the most out of their diving experience.
I'm going to quickly talk about the technology that's going to allow us to deliver on that value. So as he said, the website right now is essentially crowdsourced reports from divers doing it actively, and then Chris basically using his expertise of diving all the time to say, here's what I think it's going to be. So we're going to improve on that by doing an automatic forecasting algorithm. There's something called the U.S. Integrated Ocean Observing System. It actually covers all territorial waters. It's a network of sensors that just gathers data and actually puts it out open source. There are over 1,500 sensor packages in California alone that are gathering all this type of data, and that's open source for anybody to use. That's how Surfline, Weather Channel, that's how they do all of that. So we have access to that data as well. What we don't yet have is a known visibility data set to compare that to actually figure out the factors that contribute most to visibility. So we're building that concurrently in 2 different ways. First, we're looking to basically link a measurable factor like turbidity, which is kind of something like clarity, but it's a way you can measure it, but it's not exactly what we think of as visibility, to visibility, and that would then open up a massive data set because we have turbidity data going back for a lot of years. That's difficult, and that's where Scripps comes in and helping us with that kind of oceanography stuff. But what else we're doing is we're essentially crowdsourcing that data set as well. So anytime someone goes out and dives and posts a dive report, we get a observed visibility that we can then compare to all the data from that day. And as we build that data set out, that will allow us to incorporate a machine learning algorithm that essentially figures out which factors are the most important and churns that to be able to predict forecasting out. Our goal is to be able to do a very accurate forecast in the 3 to 5 day range, and then something that may not be exact, but very dependable in the 1 week to 2 week range. And that would provide the kind of value to divers that Surfline currently provides to surfers. Talking about market size, we see a total market, basically anyone that touches the water and cares that it's clean. of about 50 million participants. That would be a $636 million revenue per year. An available market of really just recreational divers and snorkelers, that's 3 million to 11 million. That would be 178 million per year. Realistically, what we're looking at is an obtainable market of about 100,000 subscribers. That represents 3.3% of scuba divers, and those are mainly the ones who are very active in areas that where visibility matters a lot. Southern California, Florida, places like that. And then 597,000 active users, and these are more the snorkelers that are really just kind of going and traveling somewhere and just Googling what's the visibility, and they'll just hit our website from there. And that would be about $12 million revenue per year. Another market that we see kind of as a side market is for the military and institutional users. You currently use data sets that allow them to do operational planning, and they use visibility, but not very well. Actually, what they do right now is they send divers like me and Chris down there to go, hey, what's the visibility? And that's actually not that great for forecasting out or for going places that you don't want to be seen. So this would be very valuable to them. Putting a number on how valuable is quite difficult. It depends on budgets, it depends on how much this affects their operational planning, but similar contracts in the past for integrating algorithms into their data sets have been on the scale of millions. Beachhead market we're actually looking to do, there are 500,000 certified divers in California. That's growing at a rate of 25,000 per year. 15,000 of those are in San Diego alone. And right now there are 2,500 users. They are currently trying to find a solution to this problem, either through Facebook groups or on email lists, and those would be very good initial users for us to solve this problem in a better way. And then we'd be tapping into those 15,000 divers who are brand new to the sport. They don't have the experience that most people have in choosing where to go, so this would be very useful to those.
For our business model, we think the best is going to be a freemium business model, where we'll have a free version where you will be able to look at 2 days ahead of the forecast, and also a premium version where you'll have to pay a subscription, a monthly or a yearly fee, where you'll be able to look at these 2 weeks ahead forecast. You'll be able to look at the local divers community events and related news. And as many of our competitors, we believe this is the right way to do it, because as Dave was showing, we have a huge market of snorkelers that will be willing to go with the free version, but those are the tracking we need for increase our advertising revenue. And on the other hand, we have the market of the certified scuba divers that we believe are going to be willing to go with the premium version.
Regarding the competitive landscape, here we have a comparison of service providers. DiveViz is the only wide-range water visibility forecast that is accurate and consistent. All other service providers, they focus on different types of customers, or they lack important characteristics. For example, Therafin focuses on fishermen, and they are not very accurate or consistent. Lifeguards report, they are not accurate, although they are consistent. And another example would be Surfline, which focuses on surfers, and they don't provide a water visibility forecast report. Regarding competitive advantage, our main one is that we are the first mover in the market, and we are based in San Diego, which has a large community of divers, and a water visibility forecast report will create a lot of value for them, differently than places where the water is clear all the time. For example, the Bahamas, our report wouldn't create that much value. Our differentiated features are, as I mentioned, we are the only available water visibility forecast. And the social aspect and the large user base of our platform keeps the community engaged and makes it hard for new entrants. We aim also to protect our intellectual property with algorithm patent or with copyright, which will provide us exclusive use of the technology. And lastly, the central hub for all recent personal reports keeps the community engaged.
So the way we're going to get this to market is we're going to start with some of the trusted agents within the industry. So that would be the instructors and the dive masters. So they're teaching these classes, they're kind of the guides on tours and trips and stuff like that. So if we can get that in front of them, and they tell their students and all the people that they're leading on these dives about, then that'll get us a lot of traction. Also, those people, they have just a very tight network. They're always talking to each other, seeing what the conditions are like. And so if we can compile all those reports that they're already trying to get, that'll be a value add for them. We're also going to partner with the consistent reporters. There are people on the Facebook group and the email list that are reporting all the time. If we just get them to report on our platform, that'll start generating some traffic right there. We're also going to go for a social media marketing campaign. Facebook and Instagram are going to be our two primary platforms. Facebook, because it's a great community builder for diving. You usually need to have somebody to dive with, so it's good to have people to talk with, and that's a good place where people are already sharing reports. Instagram is also good because the imagery that is captured while diving, people love to look at that. Some of the accounts are really big, so we're going to have a presence on there. And most of our content will be highlighting the divers that are reporting all the time in the local area. For search engine optimization, we do have a web page right now where we put out the daily dive reports, so we're optimizing that, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And then paid advertisements for dive forums, also potentially places like Surfline, because usually when the surf is bad, the diving's good.
So content traction. This graph shows the overall growth of the website traffic from January 2018 to April 2019. The website exhibits a steady growth in terms of traffic. If you look at top channels, organic search is the first one with 65% share. And as Chris mentioned, we are the first page that shows up when people write anything about San Diego dive conditions. If we can do that in every city, it creates a lot of free traffic to the website. And this is for last month. It's page pad. We know that 74% of our visitors visit our blog page, which provides daily dive reports. So it's a good metric for us. And this is also for last month. Average session duration is an important metric because there are a lot of websites that attract people, but they leave just after a few seconds because they don't like the site. But our average is more than a minute. It's good because it shows us people value the content and they want to read it. Also, 20% of visitors are returning visitors, so it's good for visitor retention.
Thanks, Kuntai. All right, so we talked about our business model. We had a discussion about our competitive advantage, particularly related to our first mover piece, and then talked about our go-to-market strategy. But how do we expect revenues to grow? It was kind of interesting when we were doing some research for tech startups. It's kind of interesting domestically. The benchmark median growth rate is 740%. So that's for firms that have annual revenues between $1,000 and $50,000, like our firm. But we actually have a much reduced or pared down, more conservative approach there. We've only actually got advertising revenue growing at about 220% and 275% thereafter. We have a dual-headed monster here where we have two sources of revenue. The first is our advertising revenue. So the goal is to bring in as large a user base as possible, build out this platform, and make sure that we have the best rapport we can with consumers and the best word of mouth. We'll then transition that over where we'll start that subscription service after year 3 and watch revenues grow from there. In fact, over time, we expect those subscription revenues, which are considerably less initially than the advertising revenues, will actually surpass in about year 7 all of those cumulative advertising revenues. But when it comes to initial upfront costs, the big things that we need are $10,000 for an initial digital marketing campaign. We need another $10,000 for the complete build-out of our website. We have a pretty good starting base now, but we want to include a little more search engine optimization, and we think that'll be good money spent there. The last piece that we need financial capital for is the mobile platform development on both the iOS and the Android systems.
So to get a hold of that funding for the app development, we'll be doing a friends and family round. We're also looking at other creative funding options like crowdsourcing, also selling t-shirts and hats. So if anybody wants a hat, we've got hats in the back, $25, and it includes a free dive report. So that'll be over the next year. Again, just trying to get some sort of platform that allows users to update their reports so we start building out that data set. There's a NOAA SBIR grant that is specifically asking for people to develop commercial products to use their open source data. So we are a perfect fit for that. if we're awarded that, that would kick in a year from now, and that'll be our proof of concept to develop that algorithm. And then if we get into phase 2, that'll be advancing that algorithm and scaling it across the U.S. So as far as our project milestones, like I said, getting the app, and then we're going to shoot for 10,000 users in the Southern California area. And then the SBIR phase 1 is worth $120,000 for that phase 1 development, and then $400,000 for the phase 2. And that can be renewed up to 16 times, so that lasts 2 years. So that would continue us on for quite a while. The risks, the first one would be insufficient user submitted reports, so we need to get that data set built. If we can't do that, that would give us trouble with the algorithm development. So we're partnering with the instructors and the people who are already reporting to start getting that ball rolling and get people uploading their reports. Also, the insufficient accuracy of the algorithm. Even if we get that data, there are a lot of factors that go into visibility. A lot of the people down at Scripps are very adamant about how complicated that would be. And so even if we can't figure this out, we're still giving value through those real-time user-submitted reports. And then lack of willingness to pay for large organizations. If we can't get the algorithm accurate enough for them to be interested, that would be a loss in potential revenue. So we're just going to stay lean, and we're going to focus on that crowdsourcing model right off the bat. Potential exits would be an acquisition by Surfline. They've acquired other companies like Buoy Weather and Fish Track. Military contracting, not technically an exit. That would be more of a licensing agreement. And then the last option is just a lifestyle business where we continue to grow this and kind of survive off the brand. In summary, this is truly a first of its kind thing. There is no central location for visibility reports, and there's absolutely no algorithm that can predict it. It's applicable to multiple market segments, from snorkelers to recreational scuba divers, and then also to larger organizations, research organizations in the military. But lastly is the purpose. The whole reason we're doing that is we think that if we can get more people in the ocean, more people to see it and experience it, then that's going to be more people who want to take care of it and protect it. So that's why we're doing this today, and we hope you join us. Thank you.
I'll start. First, can you back up to the multi-year revenue while I ask my questions, because I've got a couple.
So this one.
No,
keep
wait.
going.
Yeah, that. Oh, okay. It's got numbers. It does not have numbers. Okay. I was curious when you get
Go to the
from
last slide.
Yeah, for financials.
Oh, there you go. Thank you. So when you get to the crossover where subscription is higher than advertising, I wanted to see what your numbers look like. Okay. Because I was wondering if you planned on getting past the 12 million, and if so, how you were going to, if it was going to require. Because if you're saying the total market right now is 12 million, then to get beyond that, you need something like a military contract. So I was just trying to figure out if you're projecting that or not. So now I know the answer. Thank you. But also I want to tell you guys I looked you up earlier because I never believe anyone who says they're the first to market and there's no competition. And I searched dive visibility, not San Diego, and you were 4th. And you're right, there's no competition. So just for everyone else's benefit. So very impressive. I think this is a really interesting business model. I'm curious about the competition slide. You mentioned Surfline and others like that, but it didn't seem like any of those are actually doing visibility. So there are more people in the forecasting of water stuff, and therefore they get into competition.
So the lifeguards do a visibility report. You have to call a phone number, and they give that report from sitting in the lifeguard stand. So sometimes they just talk to divers coming out of the water, so it can be accurate, but not always. The San Diego Dive Report's Facebook page, people are submitting their reports, but if the diving's good, you're going to get a bunch of good reports, but if it's not good, then nobody's going to be going out or saying anything.
Right.
And then Terrafin, it uses satellite imagery, so they can see sort of the water clarity, but it's more for offshore fishermen. Like, it doesn't get it's not good for near coastal.
Right.
And it's also, there's no forecasting component to it. And if there's cloud cover, then you don't get a image for that day.
And my last question is is the Navy thing something that just seems too hard and the rest seems like low-hanging fruit, so you're starting there?
So
Or is it really just if it works fine, but it's not your projections, or how are you thinking about something that big?
Yeah. So I'm a Navy bomb tech is what I do, and so I track down water mines around the world. And so I'm literally the person that gets in the water and is like, "Ooh, this was pretty good," because you actually have to put eyes on a mine in order to detonate it. And so we don't use any forecasting, and that really hampers our ability to do operational planning, right? So I know how much value this would create to me personally.
Yeah.
So the problem with it is it would require a level of accuracy to be integrated within. We already use something called a marine environmental decision aid, which is essentially a whole confluence of a bunch of algorithms that give a lot of information, says whether I'm going to be effective or not, right? It tries to make it dumb for us military guys. There is no forecast for visibility in there. So if we could incorporate that in there, that would be a huge. So I'm not just guessing that it would be valuable. It really would be, but it would have to be accurate to a level that would make me be able to take action on it. And that's the part that I'm not quite yet willing to say, yes, this can happen. Let's throw it in our forecasting of our financials, because that's tough, right? And we're already seeing that getting it to that level of accuracy would be more than it would be for divers, right? Divers would be mostly happy with, hey, it's better than 10 feet or it's not as good as 10 feet.
Yeah.
In order for me to make action on it in the military, I need much more fidelity than that. And so it kind of depends on how accurate that gets to be. Now that's for my work specifically. Other institutionals we're looking at are like NOAA. They go out there and do oceanographic research and stuff, and so they get in the water. This would also be useful for them for planning those expeditions, and they don't need that level of accuracy that I do in the military. So it's not an all or nothing. It's more of like a scaling of how good does this algorithm get, and then how can we incorporate it into the decision aids of the military.
My question is kind of following on that. The thing that is confusing to me is, if the military is the one generating this data, it saddens and shocks me that they aren't having the skill set to analyze it and create what you're requesting, right? And so if you think about if they have the data and they haven't sourced the talent to incorporate visibility for the type of decision making you need, that's a hard problem to solve. And so when you showed the assumptions on the person or the talent that would do this data science, data scientists cost $200,000 a piece, and there's high in demand. So I guess to me that's the part where, and maybe that's what you're trying to say, is if it's a consumer business that's improves my personal decision to go dive and the investment I'm making of my time and personal money to go do that, and we think we can get something good enough for that based on crowdsourced algorithm, then I get that. But I think where you and I are really interested is there's this big opportunity within a data source that the government has owned. It's a hard problem for them to solve. There's a bridge that I think you guys are still discovering yourselves around how much is that crowdsourced data able to solve that problem, not just for the recreational diver, but for very important real world applications like bombs.
Totally hear you. First, you have a whole lot of faith in the U.S. government. Actually go for it. As a 12-year member of the Navy, stuff happens much slower than you're imagining, and people don't go after problems like that just by the way our bureaucracy is built, in all honesty. I'm in a pretty innovation-heavy field of the Navy, and this stuff we're doing a lot with unmanned underwater vehicles, and it's all been coming out of groups like this, in all honesty. And we're starting to do a lot better with side-scan sonar and all that. This is all technology that the military had access to do, and built some of it, but for the most part, it's coming from universities. It's coming from groups like this. So caveat that. Second being, that's kind of why we're doing that double approach to building that data set. I'm not sure the accuracy of a diver come out and be like, yeah, it's about 10 feet. If we built that data set, would be enough to get the algorithm as accurate as it would need. That's where trying to link a factor like turbidity or something that we can actually measure quite minutely would do much better on the accuracy of the algorithm itself. So to me, it'll just take longer if we can't find that link. It'll just take longer, right? Because I think the first year of data that we get from crowdsourcing would give us enough to make divers happy, I'm pretty sure. And then that would keep coming in. And if you look at how Surfline's done it, they've been around I've been subscribing for at least 15 years. Their accuracy has skyrocketed over that period because just over time, that machine learning just makes it more and more accurate. So do I think we could solve the military's problem in 2 years? Maybe if we do this other way. If not, it might take 5, it might take 8. just to get to that level of accuracy. So I totally hear you, but I appreciate your faith in our organization. But,
I also want to add, I think that you're projecting a business that doesn't take that into effect makes sense if you're happy with that business. I think
100%.
what you projected, saying it might be a lifestyle business and there are models, I think it's a good business. I'm a surf line fanatic myself.
which is why we treat it more as an exit, in all honesty. If it just comes, it would more just be like a large cash flow that would be fantastic and not really the core business.
I would say that I really like your presentation. You have a really great presence about yourself and you interact with the audience really well. You are really great presenters. And I understood the business. It was very, very easy to understand. I would say that my only, and I'm sure you spent a lot of time thinking about it because I really like it. I really see the why you exist. I wish there was a bigger market opportunity, right? That would make it a little bit more, that could make it more than lifestyle business. And I'm sure you thought about all of the different types of potential revenue or expansion that you could do on that. And I would encourage you to continue, thinking about it. What else you could use it for, and how else could you bring revenue?